You think being good will save you, that kindness, patience, and fairness will somehow protect you from the chaos of this world. You tell yourself that if you just stay humble, honest, and soft enough, the world will meet you with the same energy. But look around, really look. Tell me who gets trampled first. Who's left wondering why their sincerity was never enough? It's never the cruel ones who suffer most. It's the kind, the forgiving, the understanding, the ones who still believe goodness guarantees survival. The truth is brutal. The world doesn't protect purity. It consumes it. From the moment you start believing decency alone will keep you safe, you've already stepped into a trap. Life, in its rawest form, isn't built to reward fairness. It's built to test resilience. And in those tests, kindness without strength becomes vulnerability. It becomes a signal, a scent in the water, drawing in those who feed on softness. People will smile while taking advantage of you. They'll praise your patience while draining your energy. And when you finally stumble, they'll disappear, because in this world, empathy without boundaries is seen not as virtue, but as weakness. Niccolò Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He wasn't teaching cruelty. He was revealing the architecture of human behavior. Love without respect decays into pity, and pity is the slowest form of contempt. So what happens to the good ones? They get tired. They keep giving, believing their light will eventually soften the darkness. They tell themselves that being gentle is noble, that understanding everyone will somehow earn them peace. But it never does. The cycle repeats, giving, hoping, breaking, until something snaps. It's not anger that awakens you, it's awareness. The realization that people don't hurt you because they misunderstand you. They hurt you because they can, because there are no consequences, because your silence taught them your limits were negotiable. And that's when the shift begins. You stop asking why they did it and start asking why you allowed it. You begin to see that survival in this world doesn't belong to the nicest. It belongs to the ones who can endure the cruelty without losing themselves. Ruthlessness, then, isn't about aggression. It's about clarity. It's the moment you stop expecting fairness from people who benefit from your confusion. It's the moment you stop playing the role of the forgiver, the peacekeeper, the one who always understands. Because that role is the heaviest armor and the easiest target. You start to realize that real strength is quiet. It's in the refusal to explain, the calm withdrawal, the unshaken silence when others demand your reaction. That's where true power hides, in control, not confrontation. So ask yourself this: how many times have you mistaken your endurance for strength? How many times have you allowed someone to stay just because you feared being misunderstood? The world doesn't reward those who wait to be seen. It rewards those who stop needing to be. And in that silence, when you finally stop chasing validation, something shifts. The kindness remains, but it's sharper now, guarded, selective. You stop giving your softness away like charity. You start treating it like currency. And in that moment, you stop being breakable. That's where the story of ruthlessness begins. Not in cruelty, but in awakening. Awakening doesn't come with thunder. It arrives quietly, one betrayal at a time. The first time someone takes advantage of your silence. The first time your loyalty is met with disloyalty. The first time you realize that your love has become someone else's convenience. That's when it hits you. Goodness has a cost, and you've been paying it without noticing. You start replaying every moment you stayed quiet when you should have spoken. Every time you softened your tone just to avoid being too much. Every moment you forgave, not because they deserved it, but because you feared losing them. And you realize this is how the world breaks you. Not in one brutal strike, but in small cuts of compromise until your boundaries bleed away. But here's the paradox. The world doesn't respect the endlessly forgiving. It respects the ones who make forgiveness feel earned. The ones whose presence demands awareness. The ones who can be kind but not compliant. You learn that power isn't in domination. It's in restraint. It's in knowing you could destroy someone and choosing not to. It's in walking away without a sound, leaving behind silence that weighs heavier than words. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who fights with monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster." And that's the line you walk, the razor's edge between strength and cruelty, between protecting your peace and losing your soul in the process. Because once you awaken, the temptation to close your heart completely is strong. You want to shut everyone out, to become untouchable. But real ruthlessness isn't about being numb, it's about being precise. You don't stop feeling, you just stop reacting. You start noticing patterns, not promises. Energy, not words. Consistency, not charm. And as that awareness grows, so does your power. Because power isn't always visible, it's sensed. It's in your stillness when others expect chaos. It's in your refusal to beg for understanding. It's in your ability to stay grounded while everything else trembles. This phase is lonely. You'll be misunderstood, called distant, cold, changed. And in a way, they're right. You have changed. But not because you lost your heart. Because you finally stopped giving it to people who mistook it for a toy. You start living by a new rule. You teach people through consequence, not conversation. You enforce boundaries with silence, not speeches. You let absence become your statement. Because the moment someone realizes that crossing you isn't just unpleasant, but unrewarding, they stop. And those who don't, they remove themselves. That's the beauty of clarity. It does the cleaning for you. This is the cost of awakening. You lose people, but you find peace. You lose comfort, but you gain control. You lose your old self, the one that needed validation, and become someone the world can't easily shake. And in that loss, you begin to understand. Peace isn't soft. Peace is disciplined. It's built brick by brick, through rejection, through solitude, through silence that no longer needs to be explained. Once you stop chasing fairness, you start building leverage. Leverage isn't about dominance. It's about value. It's about becoming undeniable. When your discipline becomes your armor, your detachment your strategy, and your calm your weapon, people can feel it. They hesitate before speaking. They adjust their tone without knowing why. You no longer seek control, you are control. But here's the hidden truth. Leverage is born from loss. It's built in silence, in the long hours where you rebuild yourself piece by piece, when no one is watching. It's in those nights you choose self-respect over validation, detachment over explanation. Every quiet no becomes a brick in the fortress of your power. Sun Tzu once wrote, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." That's not deception, it's strategy. You learn to hold your power close, never fully revealed, always understated. Because true presence doesn't need performance. It just is. And people feel that kind of presence. They can't name it, but they sense it. Something about you has changed. You're not louder, you're not harsher. You're just sharper, like a blade hidden under calm eyes. You stop reacting to provocation. You start deciding what deserves your attention. You stop chasing explanations. You stop fighting for closure. You stop attending every battle you're invited to. That's not avoidance, it's elevation. When you become deliberate, people can no longer read you, and what they can't read, they can't manipulate. You become the question instead of the answer, the silence instead of the noise. And the most fascinating thing happens, respect grows. Not because you demanded it, but because you made it impossible to ignore. You begin to embody quiet power, the kind that doesn't scream but shifts entire rooms. But leverage comes with discipline. You must know when to walk away, when to stay still, and when to strike. You can't fake this. The world will test you. It will poke and provoke just to see if your calm is real. The first time you fold, you lose. The first time you respond emotionally, you teach people that your power was performance. So you learn control not just of your temper but of your access. Not everyone gets to see you anymore. Not everyone gets your explanations. You begin to value mystery, not as manipulation, but as self-protection. Because the less you reveal, the more power you hold. This stage of ruthlessness isn't loud, it's surgical. You don't destroy people. You remove them, quietly, cleanly, without guilt. You stop trying to convince others of your worth and start proving it through presence. Every time you walk away calmly from chaos, you reinforce your leverage. Every time you stay silent where you once would have argued, your authority grows. And when you finally understand that you don't need everyone to like you, you become untouchable. The ruthless don't beg. They don't chase. They choose. And that choice, that calm certainty, is what terrifies the world most. There comes a point when solitude stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like power. You no longer crave company, you crave peace. You stop needing to be understood. You stop explaining the path you're on. Because you realize not everyone deserves access to your process. Detachment becomes your discipline. It's not apathy, it's protection. You begin to see people clearly, not through the lens of hope or history, but through their patterns. You watch how they treat silence, how they respond to boundaries, how they act when they gain nothing from you. Those small observations tell you everything words never could. And when you see truth that clearly, you can't unsee it. You stop trying to fix people. You stop negotiating with inconsistency. You stop mistaking potential for loyalty. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and your thoughts sharpen when you detach from chaos. Because now your energy is yours again. Your peace is your responsibility. You don't waste it explaining to those committed to misunderstanding you. You realize the most powerful decisions are often the quietest. No confrontation, no closure, just removal, the absence that speaks louder than words ever could. And while others mistake your silence for weakness, it's actually your strongest move. Because silence disarms, confuses, it removes the oxygen from conflict. And suddenly, those who once fed on your reaction have nothing left to consume. This is where your presence transforms from gentle to grounded. You're no longer driven by emotion, you're guided by observation. You choose your battles, your words, your company, all with surgical precision. And as your life simplifies, your clarity amplifies. Fewer people, fewer explanations, fewer performances. What's left is authenticity, the purest form of power. But make no mistake, detachment requires pain. You'll grieve your old self, the one who needed to be liked, who believed kindness could cure cruelty. You'll grieve friendships that can't survive your boundaries. You'll grieve the comfort of being soft all the time. But in return, you'll gain something rare. Peace that can't be taken from you. You'll stop needing to prove yourself. You'll stop feeling responsible for how others perceive you. You'll stop seeking fairness in a world that never promised it. Detachment isn't giving up. It's letting go of illusions. It's realizing that not everything that feels good deserves to stay. That not everyone who says love means respect. That not every opportunity is aligned with your peace. And once you master that, you become something the world doesn't know how to control. Unpredictable. People can't use what they can't predict. They can't manipulate what they can't read. They can't harm what no longer reacts. You stop explaining your silence. You stop defending your distance. You stop apologizing for your peace. And that's when people start calling you cold. Let them. You're not cold, you're clear. There's a version of you that no longer seeks approval, that no longer explains, that no longer bleeds to prove it still cares. That version, the ruthless one, isn't born from arrogance. It's born from evolution. You've been broken before, betrayed, overlooked, and you survived it all. Now, every scar you carry has become a seal of strength. Every boundary, a sign of self-respect. Every silence, a statement of control. You don't chase anymore. You evaluate. You ask, does this person bring clarity or confusion? Strength or chaos? And if the answer leans toward chaos, you cut clean without hesitation, without guilt. Because peace isn't free, it's earned through sacrifice. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." And that's what you've become, free. Brave enough to walk away from what doesn't serve you. Brave enough to disappoint others rather than betray yourself. Brave enough to stand alone in a world addicted to validation. Now you move differently. You speak less but mean more. You act slower but strike sharper. You no longer seek fairness, you create balance. You no longer demand loyalty, you observe it. You no longer chase closure, you decide when the story ends. Your silence has become power. Your detachment, armor. Your presence, undeniable. People feel it. They don't always understand what changed, but they feel it. You're not louder, you're heavier. Your energy carries weight. Your standards, gravity. You no longer explain your worth. You embody it. And here's the paradox. The more ruthless you become, the softer your compassion gets, but only for the deserving. Because now, kindness isn't weakness, it's choice. Privilege, not an obligation. You no longer bleed for those who wouldn't hand you a bandage. You no longer prove your loyalty to those who failed to earn it. You no longer chase love that demands you shrink to fit inside it. You've outgrown the need to be understood. Now, your peace is your proof. You become untouchable not by building walls, but by mastering the art of walking away. Not out of pride, but out of clarity. Out of the unshakable knowing that nothing external defines you anymore. Because you've rebuilt yourself from ruins. You've learned that silence can be an answer, that distance can be protection, that detachment can be love for yourself. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you never go back. You stop fearing solitude because you've met your truest self there. You stop fearing rejection because you've realized its redirection. You stop fearing endings because you now understand they're simply the start of new control. You don't need to prove your power. You are power. And as you walk through life now, calm and composed, you carry an invisible authority. The kind that doesn't demand respect, but commands it through presence. You've become the person who doesn't react, doesn't explain, doesn't chase. Because you've learned that control isn't about how much you can do. It's about how much you can resist doing. That's the ultimate transformation. When restraint becomes your strength, silence your statement, and peace your greatest weapon. You've become ruthless, not in cruelty, but in clarity. Unbreakable, unbothered, unmistakably in control. And the world can feel it. There comes a point when ruthlessness turns inward. Not against others, but against your own weakness. That's when you stop seeing the world as something to conquer and start seeing yourself as something to refine. You've fought the external battles. Betrayal, disappointment, manipulation, loss. You've built walls, drawn boundaries, mastered silence. But there's one more test, the hardest one. The battle within. Because even after you become untouchable, the echoes of the past still whisper. The old instincts still reach out. The urge to explain, to prove, to please. The ghosts of who you used to be linger in the corners of your mind, asking, "Are you sure this is who you want to be?" And that's where ascension begins, not in domination, but in discipline. You start turning the same ruthless energy you used to protect yourself inward, using it to sharpen your mind, your habits, your focus. You no longer chase peace, you embody it. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery requires constant confrontation. Not with enemies, but with impulses. You learn that control isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about directing it. Anger becomes fuel. Fear becomes focus. Pain becomes precision. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. Every decision becomes deliberate. Every silence intentional. You move with rhythm, not reaction. You no longer ask, "Why did this happen to me?" You ask, "What does this teach me?" And that shift changes everything. You stop chasing outcomes, you start mastering process. You stop waiting for validation, you start building momentum. You stop fearing failure because you understand it's just feedback. The ruthless one, at this stage, doesn't seek power over others, they seek power over themselves. Because when you control your inner world, the outer world loses leverage. You wake up earlier. You speak less. You move slower. You see clearer. You begin to crave silence not as escape, but as alignment. Your solitude becomes sacred, your time, non-negotiable. And the more you refine, the more the noise of the world fades. The drama, the opinions, the endless distractions, they stop reaching you. You operate from a place most people never discover, calm dominance. But don't mistake calm for comfort. It's not soft, it's sharp. You've learned to live without chaos, and that's a discipline most people can't sustain. The peace you've built isn't fragile, it's forged. And when you reach that level, the world begins to bend around you. Opportunities appear where you used to see obstacles. Respect flows where you used to beg for understanding. People who once drained you now fall away effortlessly. Not because you wish them harm, but because they can't breathe in your altitude anymore. This is the ascension. When you rise so high in awareness that pettiness can't reach you. When you no longer crave recognition because your existence itself is the proof. When you no longer fear loss because you finally realize nothing real can be taken from you. You become a paradox. Calm but intense, distant but deeply present, silent but undeniable. You move like a storm in slow motion, measured, intentional, unstoppable. And then, something miraculous happens. The ruthlessness that once protected you now transforms into wisdom. The silence that once shielded you now radiates authority. The detachment that once isolated you now draws respect. You've ascended beyond reaction, beyond emotion, beyond the need to be seen. Now you see. You see patterns before they form, intentions before they're spoken, endings before they begin. That's not paranoia, it's mastery. Awareness sharpened through experience. You've become the calm in the chaos, the still point in the storm, the presence that shifts energy without saying a word. And when people look at you now, they don't understand how you got here. They just know they can't shake you, can't provoke you, can't move you. Because you've reached the final form of strength, tranquil power. Not loud, not desperate, not reactive, just still, just aware, just free. That's ascension. The moment you stop being shaped by the world and start shaping it instead.